How are you feeling after last night, Kate? Obviously, a little bit. I know you won, but you're a little bit downbeat after Tottenham scraped over the line versus a lowly Championship team.
Do you know what? I did a stream today, and I think it's one of the first times, but probably isn't. But I feel kind of speechless about Spurs at the minute. The win doesn't feel like a win. It feels like someone's put a very small plaster over a massive, great big cut. And I don't know if I manage in. I don't know if I manage out. I don't know what to think about my club at the moment. I think another manager could get more out of the team than Ange is getting. But is it a case that he still needs more time? I don't know, Terry. I can honestly say I don't really know how I feel. If Ange went, I wouldn't cry. But he'd be the 12th manager to go under Levy, and nothing ever changes. So
maybe you'll get lucky number 13.
Well, that is my lucky number. So there is always that chance. But the chances are that won't happen. The chances are it will be a new manager, and then in 12, 18 months, I'll be sitting there having the same conversation. So I don't know how to feel. I mean, Jim's of the opinion we won, it don't matter. I'm not. I'm of the opinion, well, it does.
Any hours a goal.
Basically, yeah. I'm of the opinion that those performances are definitely not sustainable. And I'm dreading the weekend. The weekend is nervous.
Who are you playing this weekend?
Brentford at home.
Brentford could do ya. Brentford could really do you this weekend.
So could Ipswich or Southampton or anybody. I wouldn't be sitting here feeling confident if we were playing anyone, because after last night, I just don't know what to say. It was an absolute disaster class. You couldn't tell who was the Championship team and who was the Premier League team. It's as simple as that. And neither of them, well, we definitely didn't look like a Premier League team. It was shocking. Until those last few minutes, it was absolutely shocking. And it is on the manager, but it's also on the players as well. But it all stems from the rot at the top, I'm afraid. And he ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Look, Kate, there is light at the end of the tunnel, yeah. Apparently, according to him, self-proclaimed, Ange Postecoglou said in the second season of every managing job he's ever had, he's won a trophy. So, by that logic, I'm just saying, leak up.
Do you know what? The thing is, a lot of people have made a lot out of that, when really he was just stating a fact. That is an absolute fact, that everywhere he's gone in the second season, he's won a trophy. But you don't make 8 changes and put out a team like he put out last night if you really desperately want to win a cup. But I don't blame Ange, because I think it comes from the top. Every manager disregards these cups because Levy demands top 4. So I don't know. I wish I could just give up football and take up knitting, but I love it too much.
No, wow. I think everybody's kind of been there. I think everybody at some point with their club, at some point in their club's history, has had that kind of feeling of what is the point? And especially if I think a football club doesn't reflect you, in the sense of it's not about winning. Or I know that some will say it's the only part of football that's important, but there is an element of your club behaving and operating in a way that reflects your outlook of the world, if that makes sense. When you have a team that's relentless, diehard, even when they fail in their pursuit of winning, you feel a sense of honor, because do you know what? We lost, and we lost to the better team, but we did everything we could to win. And that is, I think, what fans want to see. No matter whether you're Leyton Orient, Tottenham, or Real Madrid, you want to see your club over a period of time, and not just 1 year, because not every, I don't think you can reduce it to 1 year. But over a 10, 20, 30-year period, you can reflect and say, have we really done enough to be able to win? And for a lot of Tottenham fans, the answer is simply no. And we had a video go viral on TikTok earlier on today, a clip from the show with Hassam and the boys yesterday. £1.66 billion spent in the Premier League era. That is a cost per trophy for Tottenham, excluding Community Shields, which, by the way, I don't have to have one of them, excluding Community Shields, £850 million per trophy. You compare it to Man United in that time period, £88 million per trophy. So in terms of what you're spending based on what you're winning, I understand why a lot of Tottenham fans feel disillusioned. I get it 110%, especially when you lot are paying $2,000 each a year for a season ticket.
Yeah,
Crazy.
exactly. I mean, I also get the side of I hate fans that are entitled who think that they, we should win a trophy because, for whatever reason. But our motto of our club is to dare is to do, and that's laughable because we don't do anything. We don't even try. We've signed. Ange wanted Eze, we signed Archie Gray. I'm not dissing Archie Gray, but he's not coming to the first team, made any difference. If Eze had signed for Tottenham, he walked straight into our team and makes us better. We were crying out for an Eze type player last night. Solanke gets absolutely no service at all. Werner, I mean, don't even get me started on that guy. I don't know how I don't know how he's ever blagged his way into actually convincing people he's a footballer. He is just absolutely dreadful. So I just feel really disillusioned with my club, and it's just going to take something like an appointment, like another, I don't know, like Thomas Frank to come in and maybe get us to a final and nick a cup. That's just where I see our level. I just don't see us going further with this chairman. He's too interested in building hotels.
I hear that Aya here says Levy is a genius. He basically made himself sack-proof by focusing more on the commercial side of things, because relying on performance on the pitch doesn't have any. He doesn't save any director, CEO from the sack. And yeah, I mean, it is kind of true, but also it isn't just on him; it's on the owners who clearly value. As long as for years, I saw Man United fans have this argument. Oh, you say the Glazers are good business people, but they waste money on players and are doing a crap job. Therefore, how can you be good at business when you waste money? The objective was to grow the value and the income of the club by, I don't know what the percentage was. They said it, they didn't tell anybody. And clearly, the people running their club over the last 17 years have achieved those goals. If the revenue started to drop, that's when actions happen. Man United's situation was even more sinister, really, because so much money was made by the Glazers privately during the sacking and rehiring of managers due to the sale and the purchasing of shares at the time, because we were on the stock market. And there was an article The Guardian did that broke down that up until Ollie, all the sackings post-Fergie of managers they anticipated led to a $500 million windfall for the Glazers. So again, when you're making that kind of money at a football club, you've got, as long as you're not losing money, winning becomes secondary. It really, really does. And I think that this is where the Premier League, this is where the rules and regulations and a regulator should come in, that the owners should be looked at from a perspective of, are you going to kill and damage the club? And yes, you might want to grow revenues, but is your sole objective trying to become the best team in the world, the best team in England, or not? And I think you've got to get that balance right, because Spurs, again, over a long period of time, you can see them making these decisions. And maybe if there was independent regulators that could scrutinize, maybe if there were rules in place where, if maybe after 10 years and you're being scrutinized about your approach and who you hire and what your practices are, can we see what your internal business plans are? Maybe the Premier League or a regulator can say, do you know what? We're issuing notice on you. You've got 2 years to sell the club from this point because we don't believe you've got the club's best interest at heart. It would certainly change the kind of people buying football clubs if there was a way of a regulator forcing them out if they didn't have football at the forefront of what they're doing. And at least then the football, I don't know, maybe something along those lines is needed, because again, I mean, they have changed certain rules. You can't buy a football club now the way that the Glazers purchased Man United. That's now against the rules of the game. But I think it's hard sometimes to have the fit and proper person's test ahead of time. Because how many of you have gone for a job interview, especially when you're younger, and you've made yourself sound like you're the hardest working, best person for the job, but in reality, you're like, I'm doing this job till something better comes along, right? Do you get what I mean? So at all levels, you kind of lie at the. How many of you have dated someone and both of you are very different people 3 months later, because the person you project it when you first meet someone is very different? Of course, these billionaire owners, they're going to meet the Premier League for the fit and proper person's test and say all the right things. But shouldn't there be a fail-safe where the Premier League or a regulator can say, well, you promised us this, you promised that, you haven't done any of it. Let's see your rationale. If it doesn't hit the thresholds, we can execute a way of getting you out and making you sell for a set price. You know, and that, I don't know what it is. Say that club's worth £1 billion. Like as long as there's a bid of 800 million plus that comes in, but in the next 2 years, you have to accept it. If you forced these rules upon these owners, you would really see which ones are in it to make profit, which ones are in it for the betterment of football, and which ones are in it for the long haul for their football clubs. And I'm talking about it in a very simplistic way. It would be more complex than that, but they've got to do something, because I know it's fun as an Arsenal fan to laugh where Spurs are. I know City and Liverpool fans have laughed at us with the Glazers, but in reality, it's a disgrace that we have all these clubs built by the working class in this country. So many have disgraceful owners. And I think the Glazers, I think ENIC, I think they both fit into that category.
But
perfectly.
Terry, just because they lack ambition doesn't mean they're disgraceful owners. They're not ruining the club. They're making the club better. They're making their pay on the. They're bringing in income relevant to some of the top clubs. They're making it that you don't have to win things to actually get major income. Now, Kate, you might be upset because you're not achieving success, but what they deem as successful is being in amongst the pack as some of the best teams in Europe without actually having to achieve anything.
That's not why I'm upset, Igor. What I'm upset about is they've turned our club into an entertainment venue. We get money from Beyonce concerts. We've got an F1 track, yeah, but we don't invest it back into the team because, yes, we've spent this money. I'm not saying he hasn't spent money, but he
the last two summer shows investment.
Yeah, but he doesn't buy the quality players because Eze, 50 million up front, you can have him. Oh, no, we can't do that. Let's get Archie Gray and pay it over 12 years. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't put it back.
That's your recruitment. That's your recruitment not backing themselves on getting the players.
Levy.
But that's all run by but everything that goes on at your club. So I know that you praise Arteta a lot, but everything that goes on at your club is signed off by your owners.
Yeah.
The cold hard, at the end of the day, you work for a business. If something starts going wrong, they might blame you, they might blame your boss, but at some point, the buck stops with the people that run it and own it. I get where you're coming from, and from a commercial standpoint, they've done a great job. And not all bad owners.
Be in the top 6 without Levy in them.
I understand that, but what's the point of being in the top 6 if you're not trying to win? Other than trying to make money. Exactly, and this is exactly what I'm saying, Igal. There should be regulators in football that can challenge the ambition of owners. To go, we shouldn't be allowing people to come into football whose main objective is to make themselves hundreds of millions, if not billions of pounds of profit without trying to win the trophies along the way. We should not be allowing our game to become a cash cow for already wealthy people.
But some people just accept who they are, and they accept that they're not able to achieve the greatness, but they're able to get themselves to a certain level. And maybe that's what Tottenham's level is.
So are you telling me this? Maybe they're saying that, the owners, but does that echo what the fans want? The point I'm making is...
But then why is that not the same unilaterally to everybody? Because you can't then say Burnley, Leicester, all the teams should be trying to win.
No. But of course you can. You apply the same logic and same rules, but of course you wouldn't expect a club turning over £200 million a year to spend and invest and hire in the same way as a club making £800 million a year. But however, if you can still apply the same rules and the same logics, we all have to follow the same rules you and a rich person essentially have to follow the same tax laws. They just pay more tax than you pay less, right? But you still have to follow the same rules. There's still things that you can and can't do respective of what you earn, right? The point we're making here, Igal, I think you're slightly missing it, mate, is we, I think, need as football fans somebody to regulate why people buy our clubs, why people own our clubs, what their true ambition is. Because there's one thing running into the ground and putting it out of business, horrendous. There is a different type of frustration when you've got the money to be better, the money to hire better individuals, but yet you choose not to. You purposely, it looks like you pick to stay at a certain point just because you're making enough money. Surely that isn't right for the football fans who put their hard-earned cash into the club.
Legally, Terry, I don't think there's any way any league could police their club owners.
Of course you can. You between you and the league, you create a rule and a law that they can do it. It's very.
The Premier League works for the clubs. They work in conjunction together.
Okay, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. The Premier League, it has to be voted in, of course, by the way.
But again, why would they ever vote it in?
Well, but then it exposes their true ambition. These conversations. What I'm going to ask you, Igal, is why are you advocating for bad owners?
I'm not advocating for bad owners. I'm just saying logistically what you're saying is impossible, Terry.
Why? Why is it impossible to start talking about it?
Because it has to be okayed by the clubs. And why would the clubs okay something that would put their livelihood in jeopardy?
So you are admitting that they're just doing it to make money then?
A lot of people do this. A lot of people own sports teams for money, and they use fans and they use players to make more money. And the reality situation is we buy kits, we go to games, we talk about it, we love the sport, but a lot of people that own the sport own it only for monetary value. And if they have a certain level of ambition, it's down to themselves and how competitive they are. You can't tell somebody how to be more competitive, especially if they don't have what it takes to be that level.
So I understand your logic to a degree, but I think we should have a regulator that tells the football clubs that you should be doing more. I think there should be a regulator that told the Glazers, you've got to put a plan in place to start reducing this debt. I think there should be regulators that tell the that should have told the Glazers no in the first place. I think there should be an government level regulation that stops this from happening. This isn't like the old days where it was local millionaires with a little bit of money. We are talking about some of the richest, strongest, most powerful people in the world. And if we're not careful, it could destroy a lot of football clubs. And I think we should do whatever we can. And to your point that it's almost impossible to in place, cool. But by that logic in the world forever, never fight back and never push against anything that's already set in place because it seems difficult and it seems hard. I can't. There's this comment.